Bonjour, mon amis. Il est urgent. And I'm kind of tired of the way the game industry is being run now. We're now at the point where games will get released, and instead of them getting released and people buying them, and that's it. No, we gotta request DLC and limited editions and special editions and collector's editions, and then eventually, when they just haven't milked us enough, complete editions. Not to say they're re-requesting it, but it's just like, is it too much to ask for the game for the money that I paid for this game to be fucking complete? Is that too much? Like, is that really too much to ask? To go, I know you paid full price, but instead of giving you a full game, what you were expecting, I'm going to give you a third of a game, or half of a game, or quarters of a game. You have to buy 3 more other fucking games that are a quarter of a piece of a game before you ever finish the fucking game. Or I'll give you a full game riddled with bullet holes to the point where we have to patch it, to the point where we have to fix it and do online fixes for it. I'm really sick of it, man. I'm tired of it. Now, and is it too much to ask for those games to play without meeting some fucking day one patch? It's bullshit, man. I'm sick of it. Now, yes, okay, the game generation that I grew up in the 90s, yes, we did not have all of those things that I just mentioned. We didn't have online patches. We didn't have day one patches. We didn't have a shit ton of DLC. We didn't have all of that. We didn't have all of that. We didn't have all of which we have been privileged to now, because it just wasn't possible. But now that everything is online now that everything's online, the entire playing field has been changed drastically. Now, instead of just worrying about whether the game itself will be complete, we don't have to worry whether or not these fucking development agencies with these systems won't decide to make their systems one day get a patch in which we have to stay online, on which we have to do all this shit under their whim. Because it's really unfair, and I don't know why they're doing this now. I don't know why we have to put up with shit like DRM services if it's not on the computer. I don't get it. I don't understand the necessity for this sort of thing. And people can play devil's advocate with me all you want, but it wasn't necessary before. Why is it necessary now? And I'm looking at where the next generation of consoles is going to be sitting, and it's looking like, after being fucked over and around with the entire time for this generation in one way or another, I don't know if I'm ready to invest in an entire library of games that I will definitely be paying a hefty amount of money for, to more or less not confidently give them my money. I expect these games to be fucking complete. I want to be able to finish them from start to finish without being online. In my generation of games, we played games, and yeah, they had bugs and glitches. They had problems. It had its problems, but it wasn't the same. It wasn't like, oh man, I'm going to get this game. I hope it fucking works. I hope I can play it. Because, is it just too much to ask for you as a developer to make sure your game fucking works? I shouldn't have to have day one patches to make sure that your game doesn't crash out or bug out on me or go into a fucking seizure to the point where it's unplayable. Because you're costing us money, you're costing us time, you're fucking around with this, and you know it. You mean to tell me your testers couldn't have gotten this shit under wraps beforehand? Or are you fucking serious? No, I'm tired of it. Prime example I can give is you remember the whole Call of Duty blackout a couple years ago they had Modern Warfare 3 about all these fucking fanboys bitching about the games not having the changes they want. They had this long, comprehensive list of changes they wanted. Most of them were fucking ridiculous. Because, I mean, the Call of Duty fanboys, it's ridiculous. You're supposed to laugh at them. You're supposed to point fingers at them. You're supposed to... Because, you know, they signed up for that. They decided to buy the same game every fucking year, expecting something different. And then requesting something different, despite the fact that no matter how much they bitch and moan and complain, they're going to buy the next game. They're going to buy the next game along with all the DLC and all the extra shit with it. Me, I'm tired of buying the Call of Duty games. I've long stopped since buying them. The only real good one they had was what? The first Modern Warfare. The rest of them are pretty much following the footsteps of that. It's like Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Every other Castlevania game before Lords of Shadow came into play was pretty much the same game all over and over and over again, and they weren't as good. I'm sorry. They just were not as good. Order of Ecclesia may be a classic, but that's one fucking game out of how many that were released after that. But, you know, despite all of that, with the Call of Duty fanboys bitching about that sort of thing that year, I can understand where they were coming from. I can understand that they wanted a little bit more than what they had been getting all this time. I can understand that, which is why I don't really play the Call of Duty games, because I can see them for what they are, and nothing is really changing. And is it too much to make sure that all the quote-unquote extra content that you want to add in these DLC patches, isn't it too much to ask that, you know, if you're going to put these sort of things in the game, either put them in the game or don't put them in the game. Don't fucking dangle this shit over our heads like, oh yeah, you know you want it, and just, you know, dangling on a damn string telling us you got to give us more money, because in the end the DLC ends up costing more than the fucking game. Capcom's notorious for this, Activision's notorious for this, Bethesda definitely. The fucking Fallout games had tons and tons of DLC to the point where they were releasing complete editions, and all the DLC put together was like more than a full-on fucking game. It's ridiculous. I mean, you got content locked on the disc. The first example I can give is Cross Tekken. They had like 16 damn characters, or 12 characters, whatever it was, all on the disc, and they wanted to charge everybody for those fucking characters. It's a fighting game. You're not supposed to charge me for characters. You know, the making and breaking point of the game? Oh yeah, you know how you were expecting a full-on game? Well, instead of giving you a full-on game, we're going to give you bits and pieces of a game. Here, fight over these scraps until you ask us for that steak that you know that we have, that we're going to slowly eat in front of you with A1 steak sauce. And yes, it is that important, motherfucker. I'm tired of dealing with this shit. I really am. I'm tired of these developers getting greedy to the point where we have to constantly give them money just to be treated fairly. No, I think I've given you enough money. How about you give me a full game? How about you give me a game that I will not have to expect to have DLC on? The last game I played, even with all its DLC, that is really good, was what? Red Dead Redemption? You know how long ago Red Dead Redemption came out? It's a classic fucking game. But it had a lot of DLC. But like I just said, without that DLC, you can enjoy that fucking game. You didn't have to worry about all these bugs and glitches. I know that Rockstar is notorious for doing that sort of thing, or at least in the Grand Theft Auto games, not so much Red Dead, but yeah, I don't mind big games. I don't mind you delaying the games. I don't mind me having to wait a little bit longer for these games to have all the extra content, to fucking work properly. A request I didn't think I would have to be begging for in this day and age. But yeah, we have to beg for your games to work. Surprise, surprise. Yeah, you know what, man? I'm tired of being the ones that put up with this. Because even when you get a full game, what happens? Instead of going, oh, well, you know, I bought a Crash Bandicoot game and I finished it, but I wish they had some DLC. Instead of saying I want more than what you got, maybe you should appreciate what you got. I think it's time for us to take a look at some of these games that have been released without their patches. You know, to see how well they stand. Silent Hill, that was re-released. Yeah, let's take a look at those. And see, you know what I'm saying? I've looked at the gameplay of those games, and they're downright unplayable. They completely fucked up. How do you fuck up what has already been made over 10 years ago? And don't tell me that you can't get the code and the original code for it. And even if so, it shouldn't be that hard. It's an old-ass game. Is it too hard to re-release an old game on new hardware without fucking up what has already been effectively done? Is it too much? And what about your current hardware games? Is it too much to ask for those to work? Is it too much to ask for, hey, could you not fuck me over financially for one game? Am I expected to be milked to death? How much more milk do you need for the cereal known as the money pit that we've showered you in as a consumer? I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it, and I'm tired of putting up with it. I know I'm not the only one that feels this way either. So I'm going to wrap this video up and just give you a last thought. How much longer are we going to be cash cows to these consumers? How much longer? You know what I'm saying? We need to rise up as people and be like, we're not taking this shit anymore. I'm tired of accepting the fact that these games don't feel complete. It feels like I'm renting these games for a long time, only for us to give them more money in the end for one thing or another, whether it be the DLC or patch or an update. Why can't you just release your games and leave it the fuck alone? Move on to something else. And make sure your games work. Don't do this lazy-ass knock-up job that you guys have been doing for the past 4 or 5 years. You've been getting away with it for quite some time. But I'm tired of putting up with it, and so is everybody else. Au revoir. Merci, mon amis.